Mary Mayshine? Well, it's Mary Mayshine. It's just an early single. Semi-fern leaf foliage. The foliage is not as fine as a fern leaf one over here, but it, of course, is coming on afterwards. The fern leaf hybrid is starting to go out, and some of the real fine leaf foliage ones are starting to go out, and then this one comes in. And then we just have some other, most of the early ones that we have are singles.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Okay, our singles, but this just has a different kind of foliage. And I think it's the only one, Howard, in this garden that has foliage like this.
I think that may be true.
You know?
You're doing better with these.
Yeah.
Do you think it's got parentage?
Oh, no doubt it does. It has maybe a little more parentage of the regular and mixed with the fern leaf. So it's kind of, and then it blooms a little bit later. And it's probably one of them. I think the color of it is just gorgeous. The red.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Big flower. The hands really show.
Look how tough the stems are. Look how well they stand up. So if you want to get peonies that don't flop over or don't need cages, that's certainly one that you'd want to get. The one that was there was blown down by the Hellgate winds. Otherwise, it would probably be up just like them. So anyhow, but that's Mary Mayshine. Did you talk about this one?
Not yet.
Okay. This one here, Salmon Beauty. It's our first double one to bloom this year. I would say it's a bomb.
But they say it's a double.
They say it's a double? Well, a bomb usually has the layer of guard petals around the bottom,
right,
and then the big poof up.
Yeah.
But we'll go with double. I think there's some crossover there between the double, like there is between anemone and Japanese, too.
It may be worth mentioning that there is...
Go ahead, mention it.
Well, the bomb and the double are pretty closely related.
Yeah, they are. They're very much, there's a fine line there,
yeah,
between them, just like there are the Japanese and single, or anemones, excuse me.
Right.
Okay.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Steve.
yeah, so then this is a very early blooming peony.
Obviously, yeah.
And not so many doubles are early, right?
The reason why they're crooked is because we just put these cages up the other day, and I hope this is all right and not being broken. It is broken.
It is?
Yeah, but, well, I think I can take care of it. It's cracked, and what we'll do is...
tie it up?
No, not tie it up. We'll put some water on it. Just go get some water, and that will probably take that out.
Pale in the car.
If it's still attached.
Now this is known for being pink, but with a salmon cast of color. So that's worth noting because it's not pink like usual. But you look at it and you think, and that's why it gets the name salmon. Salmon Beauty.
Okay, do you want to go around Viking Ven? Okay, we're at Promenade. This is the Promenade. Look at the foliage. Come over and Ron and show the foliage of Promenade. Isn't that pretty foliage? We've had more people when we've been here, and we've been here a lot, love the foliage of that one. It's just real wide and real, and look how it stands up by itself. Here again, it doesn't need support.
You would almost think it's not a peony if you looked at the plant.
Yeah, but I think it... Howard, do you guys have Promenade in your garden?
No, we do not.
Now this is about 12 hours after, well, 15 hours later. I was here last night and everything was still buttoned up, sealed up. But
Eloise, you'll have to come over here and see this one.
Yeah,
the foliage.
The tour. So they just burst. You know, when they're ready, they go. Maybe Ron, you could get an overhead on this guy. That bloom is perfect, and we need to get to Ezra Pound too.
Yeah. It wasn't the first tree peony. The first tree peony was the purple one down there.
I know, but what are we going to get 2 blooms of that?
That one's Promenade, Ron.
What else about Promenade? Anything I forgot to look at.
No, it's just an earlier one to bloom, but the foliage it's not fern leaf foliage. It's, which is kind of an early one with, of course, Viking Vanguard has the regular foliage as well, and it's an early one, as well. So.
I can look some of these things up, but I think Salmon Dream is, I believe, 1939. We'll look up and see.
The tags, when we get the tags finished on all these peonies, they'll have the date of when it was registered with the American Peony Society.
And some of them we don't know, so just whatever we know. Yeah.
Should we go to Ezra Pound, a tree peony over here? Do you want to tell them, Howard, about Hesla Pound, or? Okay. Right here, it wasn't the first tree peony to bloom, but it's the first one in this particular. You can get a close-up of it. It's supposed to be white, but it looks to me like it's lavender. But here again, it's got the woody stem down below, and it's got the tree peony foliage. There were 5 of them in here that are tree peonies, as well as Hesla Pound. You can walk in there. And then did you get a picture of Viking Vanguard right here? I think you have before, because it's been blooming for a while, Viking Vanguard.
More and more. That's G, A, B, C, D, E, F.
Steve is going to explain about the Japanese Toshi Itoh, and you're in front of one right there.
Toichi Itoh, in 1948, after thousands of failed attempts, he finally managed to hybridize the pollen from a tree peony to the ovary of an herbaceous peony. And he, after thousands of attempts, got 7. You can't imagine how thrilled he must have been to get 7 after getting thousands of nothing. He got 7. I'm going to put this down, I think, because we're distancing here. But he got 7 plants. And in that was 48. In 1954, they finally had enough life to them that they could start working with it. He died, I believe, in 1954.
Was it 57, wasn't it?
56. It was 8 years after his success. Doesn't matter.
Oh, that doesn't work.
In the end, his wife and children kept working with these hybrids, just keeping them going. And he missed the first bloom, came, I believe, in 1964. Somebody can look it up. It's on Google. So anyway, the point of all of that is that they were sort of forgotten in a way. And a guy named Louis Smirnoff, I don't know if it's the vodka guy or just a hybridizer peony guy somewhere in the United States, contacted Mrs. Itoh, and they got permission, or bought, I don't know, to bring these cultivars, these hybrids, to America and start producing them. And in the year 2000, still nobody was doing anything with Itohs in the United States. Somebody discovered the Itohs by a grower up in Vermont, and then they started to become something. And because they can't be seeded or anything, they have to be roots. They're from the originals, so they were like $125 a root for the first samples. And so now we have an Itohs, because they're a cross between a tree. Here's a tree peony, Hesla Pound, and that's an actual tree peony. And maybe we can even...
I don't know if you can see the wood or not, can you?
There's a little bit of wood way under there.
Right where the green's coming,
The green stops on the way down is the trunk. And each year that'll get a little bit...
Steve, show them the wood on this dead one here. There's a dead one with wood.
Yeah, that one didn't make it.
But that's wood.
That's going to get replaced this fall.
Yeah, we're going to Black Panther we're going to put in there.
But Hesla Pound is a beautiful tree peony. And the foliage is what you want to look at, because here's an Itoh that has no trunk. It has only herbaceous, normal herb vegetation kind of stems. Not woody stems. So it's a true hybrid, a true combination. And these originally they were mostly yellow, but now the Itohs have come to be hybridized for fantastic tones and colors, shades.
Oranges and peaches and
almost everything imaginable. And
pinks. And
Gary and I have noticed in this garden that these are universally, we have only one exception, we don't know why it didn't make it, but everything else is like, no matter what else is going on, the Itohs look great. They're like strengthened by this hybridization. So they love it.
Notice how the petals, or the leaves, are sharp, pointed on an Itoh, whereas on a regular herbaceous peony, they're rounded. They're sharper, which takes on the, as Steve said, the tree peony leaf look.
This is the little peony that came from Ann Arbor, but it's supposed to be a tall and robust and flowering peony.
We're happy it's just survived the transplant. ChinWon would not let us transplant it when we wanted to. She said, no, it might freeze. We have to wait till we know it won't freeze.
I know.
My friend will never talk to me again. So she protected it, and we brought it here 3 weeks, maybe at least, could be 4 weeks ago.
And it's doing okay. It's alive. It's not.
It's going to make it.
Mhm.
It's very vigorous. But this is the peony you told us about, right?
Yes.
And we wonder if it isn't a cultural revolution kind of...
The timing was about right,
right.
because she said that her second child was in the kindergarten when that happened, the purchase happened, and this girl was born in 1965 or something like that. So it's a bit 1970.
Okay.
And isn't that just about when
Yeah,
Cultural
that's around
Revolution
the time
happened?
of Cultural Revolution. I don't know. We'll have to look it up.
I know.
Everything is...
And everything is now. I threw my last World Almanac, which I should have kept because most, and I know how to thumb it, but I don't do very well in the internet, so I just haven't been able to find those dates.
I don't even know. We haven't counted yet. But if you look at these from the Reinhardt garden, starting here, these are, I believe, Gary will correct me because I don't see the examples there, but you can have a terminal bud and nothing else, but on the same plant you see this one has a terminal bud and side buds, and this has a terminal bud and many side buds. And again, I'm just learning myself about a lot of this, but these are called Lactiflora. And lacta means like milk. And so the reason, and this is going to be white, yes, milk white, but these two will be pink. Now, any peony that has side buds is called Lactiflora as a designation because the original parent of many of these hybrids is a Chinese peony that was called Albiflora, means milk, also means milk white. And this particular Chinese common peony that's almost universally in some way a parent of these hybrids in modern times, it was milky white, but it had several buds on each stem. So then, even though these aren't milky, this might be milky white, but this will be pink and reds and salmon dream or salmon beauty. So any stem that has more than one bud gets the name Lactiflora, even though it's not white. That's the simplicity of that. So that's kind of fun, and people can go through and they can just say, ah, Lactiflora. Maybe not, I don't know. Oh yes, Lactiflora. Doesn't matter what color, even though lacta means milky white. So that's the Lactiflora, and we talked about the Itohs, and those are some kind of great things to look for in the garden. Kind of fun to just notice, and then you start saying, oh. And then when the hybrids started to produce just one terminal bud, that flower would become enormous. I'm going to do this. And that enormous flower could be in a bouquet because it's part of the characteristic to put all of its energy into one bloom. And so they just don't have a special name, they're just single bloom per stem or terminal bud only. We could see a few examples probably. Here is another Itoh, so even without looking at a directory, you see the sharp leaves, serrated, I call it kind of a serrated leaf. And the blooms, Gary will be able to tell us. I wonder if they aren't always just a single bloom per stem, but he'll tell us, he's the expert. But then right next to it is herbaceous foliage and an herbaceous stem and Lactiflora, and that's going to be a pink flower, not white, like the name lacta means white. But it just refers to the side buds, and sometimes the growers will trim off the side buds to make a spectacular terminal, one bud and one bloom only. Here's another Lactiflora. Ostensibly this is single bud, terminal bud only on a stem. I don't see an example that contradicts that, so then you get all that energy going into those blooms. Lactiflora, single, but single bud per stem is not to be confused with a single bloom form. And most of the early peonies that are blooming, as we've seen today, are single bloom, single form on the flower itself. And the only exception today for that is that beautiful semi-double bomb. Ultimately, the classification is double for salmon beauty. We don't make that decision. The American Peony Society or somebody says, oh, this has these qualities, we'll call it a double, a full double. And oh, yes, we need to go down and see just a few more. Buds are coming like crazy. This is, you took a picture that's on Facebook, Ron, our videographer, and that was beautiful. And these are just opening by the hour practically. You can see all the beauty of the intricate, this is red grace. It's going to be it's a matter of hours before it'll be fully opened. And we thought we weren't going to get Mother's Choice, but look, Mother's Choice is not going to give up. It was beautiful last year, and you know, they go through their own little world of issues, and it's deciding to show itself now, even after all these are all ready to bloom. That back here we have two trees, and this one didn't make it last year for different reasons. They sometimes don't, so Gary put in a new one. This is called Boreas, I believe, B-O-R-E-A-S, that's how I'm saying it. And it has two shoots, and now it has a third one, if I can see. I think, yeah, right here comes the third. And these will become woody, maybe not this first year so much, but they will develop a woody stem, especially at the base. Some call it more like a shrub than a tree, but they call them tree peonies. So that one will bloom, and that is Hephaestus, and Gary knows the color and everything. It won't be long, and it's coming. But it looks, you look at it and say, is that an Itoh or a tree? And so you look for the woody stem at the bottom. This is the famous, one of the almost earliest Itohs. This is Bartzella, and it only has maybe 2 blooms this year. Beautiful foliage. It's an Itoh, not a tree, and it's yellow, spectacular yellow. When we get our sign, you'll see from Oregon this whole plant just full of yellow flowers, and that is Bartzella. This is mahogany back here, and that's not an Itoh, just herbaceous. So they both share that vegetation stem, and mahogany will have this very dark, deep red. You can see it already in the bud as it opens. And these are the very good friends of Howard and ChinWon. Peter Stickney is connected to the botany department at the university. I don't know yet whether he taught here or worked as a research botanist. I'm going to learn more about that, but they gave 5 of the same peonies, I believe. I don't know. We'll find out if they're white or pink. Gary probably already knows, but they didn't bloom last year, and at least the 5th one and the 1st one, we're calling this number 35, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are their numbers in this bed C. Everything's numbered so you can find it. Our listeners and our viewers can find them on their directories as we're developing that for this summer. So that's coming, the heritage peonies from the Stickney family. This is Athena. It's another single, and again we're finding out. So not all fernleafs are single, and not all singles are fernleaf. And here's an example of Athena is a single bloom, right? And we were talking a little bit about Lactiflora, so would this peony have would Athena just have a terminal bud only? No side buds?
Are there any side buds on
Well, I haven't seen any, but
That's the first year for that plant.
so we don't know. And here is our great peony, the native of the northwest United States, Brownii, Paeonia brownii. I don't know if brownii is true Latin pronunciation, but it's what everybody in the garden world says, Paeonia brownii. And that one came to us from Clarkston, Washington. from a grower there who brought it to Gary in Walla Walla when he was judging the Irish show, and she gave it to him very proudly because you cannot buy them. You cannot raise them from seed. You're lucky if you ever find anyone who has one, and she kindly divided her peonies to give us one. Here we're getting to the very first purple tree peony opening. Beautiful bloom. You can get in front of that one without the shadow probably. You got your shadow there. Yeah. Beautiful. So this garden is our one that we're working with the campus watering because it's the lowest on the bed, and we thought we had maybe a yellow and a pink down here, but we have two pinks. So these again are, you can get a good shot of the bark down there, the tree. Just follow the bark right up to the foliage, and that's a tree peony, and then this one is harder to see the trunk, but that's a perfect view. And that's I don't know that they all have names. We might be able to find out a name now. This is the first time they bloomed. Last summer they did not. Because you look at the foliage and then you look at the color and you look at the blooms, and they follow. I suppose could be a slight difference, but I think they were bought from the same vendor. This is such a testament to the tenacity of peonies, because this was kind of overwatered last year, and from where it exists in the garden, we're learning how to balance everything, and so we thought it wouldn't make it at all, and it showed this little baby start, and it kept looking like this one here, and now I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at least, and it's almost like there's a new one every day, and it's called Minuet, and maybe it's going to need to be relocated if we have, if this is just an extra wet part of the garden. So we're giving it every chance, and it's just very determined. And we're just so happy that this garden exists. In the next weeks, we're going to bring other committee members. There's a committee of 6 plus our consultant who designed the professional drawings and designations of spots for peonies. So we're going to try to introduce our committee a little bit one by one rather than a whole patch of us with life stories and whatnot. And we each have sort of expertise that we can share. We're thrilled that the garden came up early. We showed in an earlier show how already in April they were showing signs. And now this isn't even the end of May. It is literally the May 30th today. So May 31st closes out May, and we have blooms, and in the next 2 weeks especially there'll be something new almost every day, but certainly every 5 days maybe would be a good, for those who live nearby, come every 5 days and come and see what's new. But we're going to try to post on Facebook all the new blooms. Hopefully we'll have, I counted them the other day, 164 is what I counted, but just allowing 4 of them not to bloom. At least 160 of the 228 should bloom this year, which is fabulous. And people can look for Itohs, and they can look for Lactiflora, and they can look for terminal bud only stems, and they can look for doubles and singles. These are the blooms, because you see today the Salmon Beauty is a double according to the American Peony Society designation, and semi-double and bomb and Japanese and anemone and single. Those are kind of the accepted boundaries for the flowers. So there's many things to discover when you come here and see the blooms, not just to say how pretty, but to start noticing some of the qualities. And we will post on our directory the year of the designated hybrid or the designated registration. I think we could look just finally maybe at our Peregrina. This peony has won my heart, and Gary's too, and all the committee members, because it's our 1768 peony. It's the oldest registration in the garden. And does that mean it was started in 1768? No, it's an original. An original peony means species. It is a species. So it's thousands of years old. And a British hybridizer and peony specialist found it. Obviously the people of Turkey and Italy already knew it, but he discovered it, you might say. And its foliage is just so unique and beautiful, and to think it's
original and thousands of years old, and the only way we can get it is a root. We can't trust that a pollinated flower is cross-pollinated or not. So if you have the rootstock, you get it. So that's 1768 by a Mr. Miller, I think Philip Miller, in England. He cultivated it and nurtured it and then began to, and registered it, and now it's part of the world.